I didn't really understand the gravity of the situation until probably later on in the coming weeks, and whenever I realized she wasn't coming back.
More human remains have been found out in Tennessee, and they could connect back to a missing mother and her 2-year-old daughter. As the investigation widens, the family of Jennifer and Adrianna Wix is calling for police to pay special attention to these new developments. We are going to be sitting down with a retired police sergeant to talk about what is next in this investigation and how detectives could potentially connect all of this back to a case that has haunted a community and a family for more than 20 years. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. On March 25, 2004, a man named Joey Benton told Robertson County, Tennessee deputies that his girlfriend, 21-year-old Jennifer Wix, and her 2-year-old daughter, Adrianna, were missing. He claimed he last seen the pair get into a white sedan at a gas station in Cross Plains and that they were never seen again. Now, Wix's family never bought into the idea that Wix would have just gotten into an apparently random vehicle, leaving behind critical supplies like diapers and a car seat, and leave their family and life behind. But family members, they have always been suspicious, it seems, of Benton, saying that he and Jennifer, they often fought. Jennifer's mother has said that she last heard from her daughter on a phone call from the Benton home. She said Jennifer was upset, saying that there was a heated argument with Benton and his parents. 2-year-old Adrianna could reportedly be heard crying in the background. And Jennifer was supposed to call her mother back later, get an update on what was going on. That call never came. Since then, the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and the Robertson County Sheriff's Office, they have worked on the case. Law enforcement, family members, they've organized search parties, they've hung flyers with Jennifer and Adrianna's faces on them. They even did a search of the Benton property, but no one was named as a suspect. The case went cold. In 2013, the Wix case was reclassified as a homicide, according to the Tennessean, but the problem was evidence connected to this case was sparse. There wasn't a lot. Casey Robinson, this is Jennifer's younger sister, this is Adrianna's aunt. She has been pushing to get the pair's story out there for years. She has been on top of this for so long. She has even started her own podcast to try to make sense of what happened. Now, I had the privilege, the chance to speak with Casey, to meet her at CrimeCon this past year in Denver. And afterwards, I had to do an interview with her. I had to bring some attention to the story, at least to our audience here on Sidebar. And we did an episode of Sidebar with her at the beginning of October to learn more about Jennifer and Adrianna's disappearance and what was going on in their lives before they vanished. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Jennifer and you think about little Adrianna?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is just heartbreak. There's just that big hole missing in our family, missing in myself. So, I mean, unfortunately, the first thought is that. And then trailing right behind that is Jennifer was my big sister, and I looked up to her in every way possible. She was a straight 90s kid, and just like my idol as a little girl. We were very close. And so whenever I think about her, of course, all of the good memories are part of that thought process too. And Adrianna, I mean, she was just 2 whenever she disappeared, so we didn't get a lot of time with her. But now, as a 37-year-old woman looking back, like I just think of her. I took care of her a lot as a young girl. I helped my sister out with her a lot. And so now, whenever I think about Adrianna, I think of her as a daughter, but she would be 20-something years old today. And so she's kind of frozen in time as that 2-year-old for me. But I mean, Adrianna was perfect in every way. Just the cutest little toddler angel baby that ever existed. So a lot of good memories, and just I miss them every day. And it's hard to wake up and do that every day and miss someone and not know where they are. And so it's just kind of, whenever I think of them, it's just kind of a mixture of all of those things together.
Now, obviously, this is a story that we wanted to bring to you, and the reason that we can do that is not only because of the amazing support that we get from all of you out there, but also from our incredible sponsor, Upside. This is the free app that gets you cash back when you buy daily essentials like gas, groceries, food. So I pump my gas, I can use Upside. I go out to lunch, I can use Upside. I get something at a convenience store, I can use Upside. And why wouldn't I want to get cash back when I do all these things, right? This is real, actual cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you transfer right into your bank account. So once you have the free Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow the steps on the app, you get paid. To find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen. But make sure to use our promo code Sidebar because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. According to Casey, Joey Benton has apparently told different stories over the last couple of decades. One where he claims that he dropped the pair off at this local gas station, saw them get into a white car. And then there seems to be another where he claims that he saw Jennifer with a friend that he didn't know. Now, Casey claims, despite allegedly knowing about his involvement with her sister, the rumors that he was somehow involved here, she spoke with Benton in April of last year.
Yeah, I talked to him for the first time ever in April of 2024. So this was after the girls' 20-year anniversary of their disappearance. There was a big raid at their family's house, and we thought potentially that it had to do with Jennifer and Adrianna, but it didn't. There were some other things going on with his dad and illegal weapons and things like that, and he received 40-something plus charges from that raid at their house. And then shortly after that, I talked to Joey for the first time. I told him, can you and I talk? I just want to know my sister better. You were the last person that was really around her, that knew her probably better than anyone else at that time. So can we talk? And he said, sure. So we were on the phone for over an hour, and I got the opportunity, to ask him about their relationship. And he said that they loved each other, that they had plans to have another baby, to get married, that he really loved them. And I asked him, about the last days leading up to their disappearance. And I asked him if all of that was true about him taking them to the gas station and dropping them off in the white car and all of that. And he said that, yes, that all of that was true. So we ended that first conversation. He was super cordial on the phone, said that we could talk again. He would love to talk anytime. But I left after that first conversation. It left me kind of feeling like maybe we have this all wrong. He really did love them, and he was very nice to me. Like maybe we just never gave him the opportunity to talk. And so that was our first conversation, and it left me feeling that kind of way, kind of like maybe we're looking at the wrong people. Maybe she did get in this white four-door car. Maybe he's telling the truth. So that was our first conversation, but I talked to him again in July of last year, and it was a completely different conversation. His family was going through a lot of things because of that raid. And so they were kind of turning on each other, if you will, that Joey and his other family members had turned his dad in for some material that they had found on the computer, these illegal weapons and things. One of the charges that his dad received was sexual exploitation of a minor. And that was one of the things that they turned him in for. And so because of all of these disagreements and the tension in their family, Joey decided to interrupt a meeting that my family had with the district attorney at the time. And he came forward and said that he was ready to tell law enforcement and my family everything. And he did tell law enforcement, and he sat face to face with my mom in town in Springfield, which is where Jennifer and Adrianna disappeared from. Springfield and Cross Plains, we kind of use interchangeably because they lived on the line of those two cities. But he met with my mom face to face. I was on speakerphone. This was my second conversation with him. And he said that the gas station story, everything that they had told and had been telling for the last 20 years was a lie. And that Jennifer and Adrianna actually died at their house on March 25th, 2004. So completely different conversation from the first one that we had in April.
Did he explain the circumstances about how she died?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He did tell a version, which I'll refer to as another version, and potentially another well thought out lie, like the lie that they told for 20 years. So he said that whenever he got home from work on March 25th, 2004, that Jennifer and Adrianna were already dead. And he did tell what happened to Jennifer and Adrianna, but that's not a story that we believe. And it's not a story that law enforcement can prove or corroborate in any kind of way. And so we're not putting that information out publicly right now, what he said happened, because we don't want another story to be believed that's not true. We just want to get down to the truth of it. So we're not going to share those details and help him in any way. But he did also give a location for Jennifer and Adrianna's remains, which was not his family's property. He gave a location that's local to Robertson County, and he did admit to being one of the people responsible for disposing of their remains and not reporting their deaths. But the location that he gave, law enforcement has checked into. They have searched multiple times, and Jennifer and Adrianna's remains were not found. So there was no success in finding them from that. So I don't know if that location is a false location, if he was trying to, deflect and send them somewhere else. I'm not sure.
Now we have to talk about the latest. We're going to talk about the latest developments in the investigation, including what was just found that may change the course of this whole story and where detectives go from here. So for that, I want to bring in retired police sergeant Troy Hillman. Troy, thank you so much for taking the time. You know, there are a lot of myths around missing persons cases and law enforcement and how it works. And I think there's always speculation that it gets brushed to the wayside, they forget about it. What's your opinion in terms of cold cases and how police either prioritize them or stay on top of them?
The sign behind me reads "Cold Cases Matter," so I'm a huge advocate. Having served about 10 years in cold case homicide, we work very closely with the cold case missing persons unit in our department. Sometimes in other departments they're combined, yeah, it's super important. And unfortunately, sometimes when you get different leadership come in, they don't see the value, and they divert resources to other areas. But then you see other leaders come in and say, you know what, this is important. These are missing people. These are homicide victims, and we need to really concentrate on this, and it's important.
How have investigative techniques changed since 2004?
Massive. DNA continues to get better day by day. There's MVAC, there's forensic investigative genetic genealogy, there's familial DNA searching. There's just all kinds of techniques, and it just day by day it's getting better. But there's also, you have to use good old-fashioned police work and kind of mix those in.
If there are no bodies, what do police do to further the investigation?
And definitely having a body is optimal, because the body typically is the part of the scene that tells you kind of the nature of death, what happened. And then if you need a scene, a physical scene where the death happened. If you don't have either of those things, it's kind of an uphill battle. It doesn't mean it's not solvable. It doesn't mean the truth is not going to come out. But it's a very, very difficult investigation.
Are you surprised there's not more information, not more answers right now in this case? Although I will tell you, we are going to talk about what the latest development is, but are you surprised, maybe up until this point, that there hasn't been answers?
No, we ran into investigations like this. People try to cover their tracks. People try to hide information. They think it's just going to go away. You have a very tenacious family, which kudos to them. They've been through hell, and trying to move this investigation forward. And I'm sure the investigators have done the best job they can. I don't know them, but I'm sure they have family members, and they treat this as if it were a family member. So. Yeah, it's just a very difficult case. There's so many twists and turns that I know about, and then there may be more information that the authorities can't really release at this point because it could really jeopardize the case.
So according to the Tennessean, there have been several searches of the Benton property over the years, and that includes draining a pond. Law enforcement told the outlet that Benton has not been ruled out as a suspect. But as we've said, there's been no arrests or any kind of real activity, real developments. But then we talk about what happened in 2024. So this is 20 years after both Jennifer and Adrianna were reported missing, and law enforcement raided the Benton property. They ended up charging Joseph Frank Benton Sr. with dozens of charges. They found loads of weapons, explosives, disturbing material. We should note that none of the charges were in direct connection with the missing person turned homicide case, so the Wix case. But according to Casey, Benton Sr. spent about a year in prison after some of the charges against him were dropped. But after his release, the strange part, it seems he disappeared too. And then in July of this year, there was a shocking twist. A human leg was discovered in a local creek, and DNA confirmed it belonged to Joseph Benton Sr. Now, Benton Sr. and his family, they may or may not be connected to Jennifer and Adrianna's case. But the question is, Troy, what does the discovery of that leg mean for their investigation? And then I will get into what we have just learned.
Well, I guess there's several ways to look at it. One is a potential person of the three people that are believed to know what happened to Jennifer and her daughter. One of them now is deceased and cannot speak to it. So that kind of is a bad thing for the investigation and kind of another challenge. But the other way to look at it is you don't know what happened to him, whether or not it was accidental or there was some homicidal activity. Now you have two people left in that property that kind of hold answers, I would say. So it just creates, it helps, but it also creates more mysteries and kind of muddies the water a little bit.
Well, let's talk about the big thing, okay? This is huge. Earlier this month, so this is just days after we spoke with Casey here on Sidebar, a young boy discovered a skull in the same area of that creek. According to Tennessee news outlet WSMV, the Wix family heard about this latest discovery, headed out there themselves, finding even more remains. They released this statement to WSMV, quote, "Earlier today, our family discovered additional human remains at the Springfield Greenway near Sulphur Fork Creek. Out of respect for the ongoing investigation, we won't be sharing more about what was found, and we'll leave that to investigators. A young boy found a human skull, something no child should ever have to experience. We are pleading with the Robertson County Sheriff's Office to address the community regarding these recent discoveries and our ongoing case. The remains are likely that of Joseph Benton, one of the last individuals known to see Jennifer and Adrianna before their disappearance." Now, WSMV reports that Springfield police, they brought out an underwater dive team, K9 cadaver units to search for more remains over the several days. They didn't release information about exactly what they found, but the bones were apparently sent to the medical examiner's office for testing, and as of now, we're going to be waiting on identification. I will read you this. This is in a statement that was sent directly to Law&Crime. The family wrote, "It is hard to put into words what our family is feeling right now. This new discovery has reopened deep wounds and brought back so many emotions. We have endured over 2 decades of heartbreak and uncertainty, living every day with unanswered questions about what happened to Jennifer and Adrianna. The possibility that these remains are connected to Joe Benton, one of the last people to see Jennifer and Adrianna in 2004, both terrifies and burdens us in ways words cannot fully capture. We offer our prayers to the forensic teams, law enforcement, and all involved in this ongoing investigation. We pray for truth, justice, and closure, not just for our family, but for every person affected by this case. We offer our gratitude and issue a plea to the Robertson County Sheriff's Office, the 19th Judicial District Attorney's Office, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and every agency involved. Please be transparent with the community. Let the public know what has been found, what forensic results reveal, and how this may connect to the disappearance of Jennifer and Adrianna. The community has a right to know and a right to demand accountability. To the citizens of Springfield and all those who support our family, Jennifer and Adrianna, we are grateful for the continued prayers, kindness, and support shown to us. Please be respectful, avoid speculation, and allow investigators to do their work. We hold on to hope that one day we will have full answers and justice for Jennifer and Adrianna. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you to all who have endured this journey with us, those who have remembered Jennifer and Adrianna, who ask questions, who continue to pray, who seek justice. We will not falter. We will not rest until truth prevails. Troy, what is the likelihood that investigators will share information with the public?
It's tough because if they have their eyes locked in on a perpetrator, they don't want to spook the perpetrator. So it is important, yes, transparency, and yes, transparency with the family. Um, but it's kind of weighing that out with kind of what's the overall totality of the investigation. It's just a tough situation all the way around.
You know, there's one thing to find a limb of somebody, but if it really is the head of that person, now you're talking about a deceased individual who may have answers. That is what's particularly seems devastating for the family.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me, what kind of stuck out is you found the bone, and then I think there were extensive search efforts then, and they didn't find anything else. But then, however many months later, they find the skull and then more bones and remains. So to me, were those always there, and they just missed them, or was this something maybe placed? By a perpetrator involved. So you just don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
The difficulties of trying to determine identity from a human skull. Talk to me about what some of the challenges there.
I know they can do a lot with DNA, and I know also with dental records, tend to be the best. Kind of both those together to try to positively identify an individual.
You know, Troy, when Kaye released her podcast called Missing in Hushtown last year, she said she started re-interviewing people about this case with the help of producer Jules Thorpe. And Thorpe told WZTV, "We've had a ton of people come forward and say, I wish I could tell you what I know, but I'm too scared." Now, Troy, if that is true, what do you make of that?
I wish those people would do the right thing and come forward. And I know here in Arizona we have silent witness, and it's something that definitely helps investigators, and it's kind of a win-win. So that's always an avenue. I'm sure they have maybe something similar, a tip line, an anonymous tip line. Those people just really need to clear their conscience and get this off their chest, and somehow there can be ways to get that information to authorities without necessarily putting themselves in harm's way and or kind of causing them a major issue.
If Jules and Kaye had passed this information along to law enforcement, could they compel these alleged witnesses to come forward and reveal what they know?
It is hearsay. Certainly, I think the law enforcement would go and try to interview them to see if they would talk. They have the right, obviously, to not to speak. It's just that is difficult. Hopefully, again, they would come forward and do the right thing and tell authorities what they know.
And look, it may have been decades since Jennifer and Adrianna were reported missing, but Kaye, she still wants people to reach out to police, let them know any details from that time, no matter how small that detail is. We're going to be putting the phone number for Robertson County Sheriff's Office up on the screen and in the description for this episode. You can also submit a tip by calling 1-800-TBI-FIND. Troy, in your experience, in your expertise, given the details of this case, the lot of different paths, a lot of different ways this case has gone over 20 years, are you confident that we are in a position today where we may finally get answers as to what happened to Jennifer and Adrianna?
Absolutely. I mean, one of my kind of mantras is never give up. And that's kind of the spirit of cold case investigators. So you just never know, like we alluded to, who's going to come forward with information, whether or not the perpetrator ends up spilling the beans, so to speak, to somebody who comes forward, or they may want to clear their conscience. So you just never know, and you just got to keep at it, as frustrating as it is. But the family's doing 100% everything right. I admire them. I can't even imagine, what they've been through. So just keep at it. I also do say, keep praying, and karma is something that usually I've seen in my time that usually comes back to people.
Mm. I think that's a good place to end it right there. We will see what happens. We will keep a careful eye on it. Troy Hillman, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it.
And that is all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.